So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Vanessa Vallely. I am the founder of We Are the City, We Are Tech Women and the Rising Star Awards. Just quickly, why did I set these awards up? When I looked across the awards landscape, and there are a number of fantastic awards out there, one of my observations was that they tend to focus quite a lot on senior women, whereas I was really interested in the women in the middle and perhaps more junior women as well, because I believe if we put the investment into those individuals, that we will solve the problem over time around women in senior positions and women sitting on the boards of our companies. So my big quest, if you like, in life is to ensure that we shine a spotlight on as many women that are kind of in that middle area through these awards as I possibly can. So in 2015, we set a strategic objective that we would highlight 1,000 women by 2026. And I'll tell you how far we are into that number. So the Rising Star Awards are open now. You can go to the website, risingstars.wearethecity.com, and you can see very easy to cast your nomination. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that once we come on to that bit. So who's behind us? We couldn't do our work without our fabulous sponsors. So this year, for the second year running, we're sponsored, headline sponsored by the Royal Bank of Canada, but all of these other incredible companies get behind us that enable us to do our work. So they basically fund our team and everything we do. So again, hugely grateful to all of these companies who have kind of been with us for quite a long time.
Behind the screen. Maybe you can do.
If I could just ask everyone to go on mute for me, that would.
Not yourself, Vanessa.
Vanessa, you're muted.
Can't hear you.
Hold on, there we go. Is that better? You got me? So we've been highlighting the achievements of incredibly diverse women since 2015. As I mentioned earlier on, we have a family of over 650 rising stars, 100 in India and 550 in the UK. And they span from all sorts of different industries and backgrounds and disciplines. There's not many women that we haven't kind of collected on our way in terms of their incredible achievements and the various different industries that they work in. So the core of our awards focus on women below director level, and I just explained to you why that is. So 20 incredible sponsors this year. And again, it's not just the sponsors, it's the companies, it's the smaller women's organizations, it's the big kind of campaigns that get behind us and help us share the message so that we can get those nominations in. Couple of things as to kind of why we're a little bit different. There's no age limit on our awards. We believe you can be a rising star regardless of your age. So, you know, sometimes I've been asked the question as, oh, maybe I'm a little bit long in the tooth in my career. Well, I'm telling you now, no such thing. We welcome, as I say, people from all different ages. We make sure that our judges, as I say, reflect our community. It's very important for us to ensure that people are nominating and they see judges that are role models to them, that have that understanding from a cultural perspective. If anything, it's one of the things we spend the longest amount of time on is our judges, and we're very honoured. Some of the judges that we have are very, very busy individuals, and they give up their time year on year, Paul being one of them, to come and help us judge these awards. And when you think about it, when we get in excess of 1,000 nominations and each nomination is, you know, 1 to 2 to 3 pages long, that's a hell of a lot of reading for our judges, and they do it without complaint, and they do it timely. So we're ever grateful. Another thing about our awards is we're one of the very few awards that thinks about what happens after we've given you that glass object. How do we continue to support you in your career? So we have a number of different partnerships. So for example, with Oxford Said Business School. So just Tuesday this week, the 2020 Rising Stars spent half a day with the professors at Oxford Said Business School, learning key skills around planning their careers and negotiation. So we're very grateful for that partnership. The Chartered Management Institute also gift a year's membership to our winners, so they can support them with that management and that leadership journey. And we've just signed a very, very exciting deal with another partner, which the press release will be coming out next week. But this kind of really plays to we want our winners to give back. We want them to be kind of influencers and motivators for the next generation. So you'll see more about that in a week's time. The other thing we do with our winners, again, we open up opportunities to pay it forward. With a number of our previous winners, we've invited them into schools, we've invited them onto mentoring programs, we've put out calls of support. The Rising Star alumni have been absolutely incredible. For some, I remember one year we had some girls, young girls that had lost their work experience placements, and we put a call out to the family of Rising Stars, and within a week, all of those girls were placed into amazing companies and under the wing of our Rising Stars. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. And that pay it forward ethos is very much the DNA of who we are. Another myth I want to bust: you don't have to be entered by your company to enter. You know, you don't, in my mind's eye, you don't have to go and seek permission. Anyone can nominate anyone. So just that's something to be mindful of. Even at the shortlisting, a lot of people have said to us in the past, you know, even to be shortlisted, I feel like I've won. You know, nomination is an achievement in itself. When somebody nominates somebody, they get a wonderful email. It's a huge boost, you know, of morale when you get that email to say that someone's nominated you. So I want you to think about that in terms of not just, are you going to nominate yourselves, or are you going to get someone else to do it, but who can you nominate as well? So just to let you know, Rising Star, it's a two-step process. So the first part of it's quite easy, you know, just to nominate someone, tell us why you think they're wonderful, give us a little bit of details. What we then do is we then go to the individual for the supporting information. And the reason we do it this way is we want our winners to want it. No one tells the story like they do. And sometimes we lose a lot of people at this stage because people don't feel comfortable articulating their successes, or they kind of don't understand the amount of time that it takes to put together a nomination, or they leave it to the last minute, and by then we've had to cut off and send our packs off to our judges. So despite the awards now being open to the 8th of March, if you're thinking of doing it, let the planning start today. Another thing I'd like to say, there's no cost to our awards. I'm not a believer that you should pay to enter these things. And obviously, while we're virtual, there's also no cost to attend. What's been amazing and incredible the past year that we've been doing our awards virtually is we've got to see people's families and partners and neighbours. We've live streamed on Facebook. We've met, you know, Auntie Muriel in Wales and grandparents in the Congo, and as I say, dogs and cats and things like that. And that is a side of our awards we will make sure that we continue even when the world gets back to whatever that normal looks like. So I'm going to finish on the point. You often might see me on LinkedIn talking about We Are the City as a family, and I believe it is a family. It's a group of incredible women that reach out and help each other, that come to us when they need advice or direction, and we steer them away. So we're in it for the long term, right? So, you know, we want to get behind you and we want to support you. Just a little bit about the process. As I say, the nominations are open now. They're open to the 8th of March. When we shortlist, once all those nominations are in, we package them up, we send them off to our judges, and we come up with a shortlist. So there are 10 shortlisted in each of the categories that we have, and it's those categories that make up the top 100. We also have some extra awards that we do, such as Company of the Year, Men for Gender Balance, right? We need the male allies, and we need to recognise the men are out there and they're kind of amplifying our voices. This year, we've got a new award, the Global Award for Achievement. So I'd love to see some women from other countries. And then finally, the Champion, which can be a man or a woman. This is somebody that is advocating for gender outside of their day job. So it wouldn't necessarily be a diversity and inclusion head because that's part of their job. It would be somebody perhaps higher up the organisation that makes it their business to champion gender equality or does things or initiatives outside of work. So the plan is, once we've shortlisted, we've announced that shortlist, the judges go back again, we announce our winners, we do that on Twitter, and then there's a brief period in between before we have our ceremony, which is likely to be in July. And the reason there's that brief period is me and my team have to pack loads of boxes to send out to you all with your awards in and lots of goodies as well. So that's the process for this year, and you can see the timeline on the right-hand side. So I'm not going to go into this in detail because this is on the website, but it's just to ensure that you understand what the criteria is. Now, I'm just going to focus on the individual criteria. What do you need to be in order to enter? So you can work within any one of the nomination categories, and we've put an all industry category in for the last couple of years so that we catch people that wouldn't necessarily, feel like they work in a particular category. we talk about people below director level. So the sort of people that we wouldn't kind of count is people that are running large profit and loss accounts, people that are running teams of like hundreds of people. So people who are in really big decision-making roles. If you're a newly appointed director with a small team and a small budget, 'cause we know it's different in every firm, then absolutely, you know, always pop us an email to info@WeAreTheCity and we can tell you if you kind of reach that criteria. The big thing that we're looking for is you've not only got to be kind of, you know, doing your day job and doing it well, it's what are you doing outside? How are you lifting others? What have you done that's created some sort of impact? That's kind of what we want to know about. That's what we understand, what we want to understand. We also want to see that you're taking charge of your own career. So where are you pushing your own career development? So that's kind of what we're looking for. And if you fall into that criteria, we would absolutely love your nomination. So just other ones on here, I've explained them, the Global Achievement Award, anywhere in the world, a woman we're looking for, feel free to nominate. The champions, the men or the women that are championing gender equality, gender balance, the men for gender balance, this one's for the men only, you know, who are those male allies, and the company of the year. We'll be following the likes of Barclays and Bloomberg and also smaller companies. Don't feel like you have to be in a massive big company in order to be the company of the year. So categories, just so you know what's out there, all other industries, everything from banking, defence, digital, EAs and PAs, energy utilities. I'm just picking out a couple, a few kind of STEM categories in there, from technology to science and engineering, to what's the other one, digital, that we have in there. So please do look at those categories. But if you're not sure, then you can go into all other industries as well. Now, people have asked us in the past, can I enter multiple categories? I don't quite know where I sit. I'm in technology and I'm in finance. Some of these categories are bigger than others, but by all means, if you want to put yourself in double categories, then by all means, feel free. Just make sure you copy as you're entering the nomination, because there's nothing for you to save, that you copy kind of what you're putting so that you can then reuse that as well. And it's always a good idea to keep a copy of your nomination, because there may be bits of it that you can use for future awards as well. So how do awards help raise your profile? And I've had many different conversations about people about awards, and I'm just going to give you my opinion on this one, but I believe it opens up doors of opportunity for you. It enables you to tell your story in a much more wider and public context. How will people know what you're achieving if nobody knows, right? So an award is a great way of being able to tell that story. It raises visibility for you in terms of your profession. It gives you a platform to do more. I remember when my first ever award was, it was the Financial News 40 under 40. They kicked me off the next year when I got to 41. I was most disappointed. But when I first got that one, I started to ask to sit on panels and to do other things. So it really helped in terms of me getting out there and wanting to tell that story about what it was like to be a woman in finance. It showcases you as a role model. You don't get past our 50 judges, you know, unless you're doing incredible things. And don't get me wrong, virtually, I mean, I read every single nomination every year and they blow me away every single year. Every single one of those nominations, that individual is remarkable and special and they're doing great things. The difficulty becomes when you have so many that are doing kind of great things. And I know that's the challenge for our judges. Talking point for opportunities, you know, I've seen many of our previous rising stars now in their LinkedIn and stuff like that, they're preceded by award winning. And it's great because, again, I say, it just opens up those doors of opportunities. In terms of visibility within the firm, I'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we've seen in terms of what's happened next for some of our winners, but it definitely, again, opens the door of opportunities internally. And some of the things that we've found is that perhaps that individual that's been nominated hasn't had a big kind of profile within the firm, but once they win the award, they get asked to, you know, take part in town halls or to go on to speaking events within the firm. And that's great because that's, for me, the gift that keeps giving. The company's got behind them, which they should anyway, but the company's got behind them. They're out there as a role model. Other people are looking at them thinking, well, I can do that. And then it's encouraging more. So that role modeling is so important. And it's one of the things that we kind of, you know, very much promote as a Rising Star winner. But you may feel uncomfortable with it. And I get this. I totally get it. You're putting yourself out there. You're putting your head above the parapet. What will people say? That internal questioning, my imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Have I done enough? And I'm telling you now, you have, right? So so just sometimes, and also it's that perception, am I bragging, am I boasting? And I tell you where we really see this is when we go into public voting, once we've done the shortlist. And the public voting really is there for people to show you their support, right? And have that moment. And some of the ladies from last year were saying they felt so overwhelmed with the amount of people that would congratulate them, almost to the point of uncomfortableness, because they've never had kind of so much attention, and they felt they were putting themselves out there and they was worried what people would think. And all I would say to that is you are the driver of your own bus, right? So if you don't toot your own horn and shout about your successes, who else is going to do it, right? So if you're questioning any of that, I get it. You may feel uncomfortable. Maybe this year's not your year to do it, but just have a think about how do we overcome some of that. And even when writing your nomination, don't think, oh, I better not put that, sounds a little bit too braggy or anything like that. We need to know that stuff. So, you know, by all means, please tell us. So I just thought I'd show you just some of the Rising Star alumni. I mean, there's 550 of them. I couldn't pick them all. So I just picked out a couple, but across the piece, I mean, we've done some research. It was a good few years ago that 60% of our winners had been promoted or took on additional responsibility because their firms see them, like, you know, they see the award. We've had 20 authors, some incredible books, ambassadors for their companies. I've seen loads of our Rising Stars on the TV giving full opinion pieces. They've gone on to win other awards. Don't get me wrong, all of these ladies were absolutely magnificent long before we come along. You know, we're one of the kind of companies that have kind of recognized them and give them awards, but you know, we watch everyone's journeys. So the moment one of them publishes a book or they're out there or anything like that, we're straight on it, you know, because as I say, we're part of that family. So just to give you an idea of some of those ladies that you're seeing there, that's Manisha Taylor of Swagalicious. She received an MBE. She does a lot around mental health and sport. You've got Carol from Abounding Solutions, Carol Stewart. She's a LinkedIn top voice. You've got the wonderful Shola, who you've probably seen on the TV umpteen times, you know, human rights campaigner, lawyer, just released a book, What This Is Why I Resist. You've got Liv Cook. Liv won one of our awards when she was 16. She's a world freestyle champion footballer. One of our award winners from last year, Millie Gooch, released the Sober Girl Society book. Down the bottom, you've got Ellie, Natalie and Sally, all MBE and OBE winners. We've got the authors of Slay in Your Lane. As I say, this is just a handful. You've got Joanne Monk on there, OBE winner from the last year's winners. So just a couple, just to show you what these ladies have kind of gone on to do. And, you know, we're a tiny little part in their success, but we are so, so proud of them all. So I'm not guaranteeing you're going to get a Queen's Honour or anything like that, but it's just to show you how some of these ladies' journeys and who's part of your family. So here's the important bit, right? What makes a good nomination? And I think, Paul, you can back me up, and I'm going to come to Paul in a sec, that sometimes we've received nominations in and they're like 3 lines. It's like someone just hasn't had the time to put the entry in. It's pointless if you've got the time, or it's kind of, you know, the lack of effort is so visible to the judge. We're just going to kind of click on and go on to the next one. So first of all, carve yourself out some time for this supporting information, you know, if that's the situation you're in, or if you've already done the nomination. Tell me a story, captivate me. Tell me where you've been, what you've overcome, and take me on a journey. I want to feel like I'm getting to know you as a judge. And again, it's up to you what you choose to share. What we shouldn't have is just a bulleted list of previous achievements, because that's great. We need to know that stuff, but how did you achieve that? What impact did it have? You know, I talk a lot about this thing called cause and effect, which is something someone taught me years ago in management reporting. You know, what did you do and what was the impact? Why did you do it? So that cause and effect, you know, I did this, which had this impact, or which led to this decision or this initiative. So tell me the kind of before and after and where you played your part. Again, sometimes I see people leave out the context. They may say, we run a large project across this particular area of the business. I want numbers. Tell me, you know, how many people did that impact? What countries did it go across? What did you do? How did you engage this particular community? What legacy, what sustainability did you leave behind? And again, you may not have any of this stuff. I'm just saying, if you've got some context, when you read it, there's something, again, someone taught me the so what factor, right? When you read a sentence or a paragraph and you go, okay, so where's the Where's the big shining light at the end of that? Because kind of, that's what we're looking for. Again, where have you gone above and beyond? Where did you hit a roadblock, but you used innovation, or, you used other things, a different way of thinking to kind of overcome it? And again, self-nominations, we love them. No one tells their story better than you do. So please, going back to my imposter syndrome and things like that, don't be frightened to pen. No one will know you've nominated yourself. We don't tell anyone. The only way we tell people who's nominated them is if your nominator ticks a box and says, I'm happy for you to share, and then you can ask us, we'll tell you, but otherwise we're not telling. So think about the self-nominations. So what are our judges looking for? And I'm going to come to Paul on this bit, but from my perspective, obviously you meet the criteria. That's the first one. We've got a good nomination, spelling, layout. It's not just been rushed out the door. We've gone on a journey with you and we can see your impact. We can see what you've done. Again, anything else where you've lifted as you've climbed, where you've helped other people, paid it forward. Absolutely. We want to hear about that stuff. Examples of where you defied odds, again, back to my point earlier on about overcoming adversity or overcoming barriers, and where you took some risks, right? Nothing is achieved without an element of risk. So I'm going to come over to Paul. Paul, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you've covered quite a lot of it, but yeah, I mean, I look at authenticity in the nomination. I think that's crucial. I want to know your journey, where you've come from, what you've done, how you've got there, without being overly like pages and pages, as you said before. What impacts you've had and what actions you've taken to get there. So the data and the numbers is quite crucial, and it's not always about helping like thousands of people. You might have helped 10 people, but the impact on them people might be far-reaching. It might be 2 people, but the impact of them may be far-reaching for yourself. But don't underestimate the power of awards. It can give you a real boost as an individual, knowing that you're actually doing a good job. Puts yourself in front of people that would not necessarily have heard of you before, and the senior management going, wow, never thought. No, she was doing that within the organization. She's championed this, and she's come through so much adversity to get there. And that can be a fast track into senior positions if that's so what you want. So I'm looking for that authenticity really within yourself. Make sure that you tell your story really, really well, structure it in a way that it's readable, and look for the stuff that you do outside of your work as well. It's not just about what you do inside your work, but I'm also interested in what you do to maybe help charities, or you maybe volunteer for a little organization that's reaching out to people from diverse backgrounds, or just a couple of examples there that you do, and that's kind of some of the things that I look out for.
Fabulous. So I would say, Paul, you've been with us for the last 4 years, and each year I think it's safe to say that the nominations just get more and more incredible. It's hard, right?
Listen, there's lots of awards out there, but there's very few awards where people it really means a lot to them. One being We Are the City and the National Diversity Awards. I've seen people in tears, never thought they would actually become a winner of We Are the City and the National Diversity Awards. And so that's what these awards brings. It brings you that self-confidence that, what, you can achieve, and you are doing a good job. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so I'd fully recommend anybody get nominated. If you know someone that's doing a great job within the organization, if you're senior, nominate the people that are there. I'm going to be nominating a lot of people. I run inclusive companies as well. And I'm going to be nominating a lot of women that work within organizations, because I know the work that they do is with passion, and they work tirelessly to make sure that their voice is heard as a woman, as a Black woman, that intersectionality as well. It's crucial. So yeah, it's the power of We Are the City is phenomenal. And the reach that you have, gosh, if you go on the day, it's so exciting. There's a buzz on LinkedIn, there's a buzz on Twitter. And when we actually have the live awards as well, we went to the awards, it was electric. So you can't ask for any more than that.
And we'll have more of that, hopefully.
Vanessa, can I just say thank you so much for putting on awards like this. It's an absolute honor for me to judge awards. I get asked to judge lots of awards, and I refuse most of them, but the We Are the City is basically one that I look forward to every year.
a lot of love in the room with Paul and his awards. I'm a judge on his as well. We see some incredible people. We've cross-fertilized winners as well, haven't we? A lot of the time. So yeah, do look at Paul's awards as well. So thank you, Paul. I know you're really busy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So just finally, just on the other awards, I mean, you know what we're like at We Are the City. We're in the interest of sharing and collaboration and things like that. It's not just our awards. There are hundreds. I think I read an article earlier on. There are 4,000 different awards. But here's just some of the ones that I've judged a couple of these. I've attended a couple of them. And Paul, obviously you're familiar with some of these, but here's just some of them that you can go and look at. Even if our awards are the beginning of your journey, or you look at ours and think, oh, they might not be for me this year, but perhaps there's another industry awards that I could go out or I could go afterwards. Just have a little look here. I've put a link at the bottom of this so you can go and have a look. And again, these awards are fabulous as well. So, but be brave, kind of put yourself out there. So